How are you feeling coming to COP this year?
Well, coming to COP is always a process itself. Like I think we are more ready this year for engagement. We have prepared a lot back home and coming to COP. But as you know that a lot of things change as we come here, new agenda items get introduced. So yeah, we're taking each day as it comes. We are unpacking as a team. We are unpacking as PCs, and then we're trying to move forward as each day comes. COP's not an exciting journey. It's a very tedious process. It's about just remaining focused and trying to take each day as it comes as well.
I know there's a lot of process, like that you guys had to go through, a lot of preparations. What are some key strategies that you're bringing to COP this year?
Some of the key strategies is to have a team that looks at the textual proposals as it comes out and benchmark it against national and PC's position. We also have a strategy around how do you, identify red lines. So we call this color coding exercise that we've done at home. So we try to draw on that and going forward. I think one of the biggest strategies for us is partnerships and collaboration. Fiji has a very big ally or friendship with G77 and China members. So trying to draw on our relationships with AOCs, but also least developed countries and others. We also have a divide and conquer strategy where we know only so much that we can do. And so, partnering with other Pacific Island countries to cover items so that we can, touch base with each other. And one of the biggest and most firm decision that the Fiji government made this year was to include partners like IUCN, Conservation International, and other environmental and climate change organizations that are working in this space as part of the delegation to not only provide us advisorial support, but also to try and help us with the global and regional, dimensions or elements that is required. They also come with a very big group of network and partnerships. So I think it's really important for us to draw on their expertise and their relationships as well.
You mentioned earlier on, the importance of having a document like this. Does this reflect also? Does this also contribute inside the negotiation?
Very much. I think these are the frontline truths that we want to be grounded by. And for me particularly, like chapters on loss and damage and things like on climate finance, the issues of access is basically the foundation of what we are discussing on NCQG, which is the quantum of financing that is required. The elements of simplicity, affordability, accessibility, effectiveness are all in the discussion of these chapters. There are documented evidences of why international climate financing architecture is not working to the best of its ability because it's not designed for purpose or it's not fit for purpose, and what are the recommendations that can be taken on board. Those are the very recommendations that are discussed in diverse ways in these spaces, looking at innovative financing. What does innovative financing look like? How do you bring private sector into it? So, a lot of examples on private sector don't emerge from the Pacific. So if you had to bring this to the Pacific, what would it look like? And I think that's really important, that when we are in those rooms, we are grounded by data and research, because we are always trying to talk about the contextual realities, and that's very important.
What are some key themes that Fiji will be advocating for this COP?
Definitely NCQG, trying to get a decision on the quantum of financing that's required. We really want to come back home with a decision, but also, agree to how OECD report is done, the transparency, the issue of double counting, the issue of financial arrangements or institutional arrangements that needs to be in NCQG. Very importantly, within the institutional arrangements, there has to be specific mention of special circumstances for SIDS and LDCs. We want a special window. We also want a reflection on this very important point on the foundation, which is the ceiling, the minimum floor that is required. Of course, there is evolving discussions around elements that will be there. What are the guiding principles of those elements are quite important, and so I think very importantly, NCQG or climate finance is something. We also want discussion or movement on GGA, which is the Global Goal on Adaptation. This was pretty much my baby since I started negotiations. And I feel really proud to say that we've made significant progress in this agenda item. We are trying to agree to not only indicators but also the activities that will make us realize these indicators. And then of course Article 6, because Article 6 has been one problematic issue for us. It's stalled for many years. We know GST decision was out last year, so on Article 6, particularly Article 6.2, which is carbon markets, and 6.4, which is on the mechanisms of carbon markets. So we need some progress on this. We know that the presidency wanted to take on board the recommendations because there was no progress last year, so we had to start negotiation from scratch. And so I think we need some progress in this. And we also need some progress on just transition work program and the mitigation work program. So there are many elements on COP that I can talk about, but in the interest of time, I think these are the big ones. And of course, we are here at this COP to talk about the operationalization of the L&D fund. That's really important. This volume itself is a testament of why it needs to be operationalized because of the rate of residual loss that is being experienced by Pacific Island countries. So that's very important.
So I guess a lot of people back at home are asking, what's the point in having so many people come to COP, like from Fiji, and how does this reflect on the ground? How does it trickle down the ground, the decisions that comes from here? Or have we already started experiencing the, the benefits of attending COP?
I think it's different perspectives, and I'm not in a position to continuously having to justify the number of delegates that are coming. This is the second largest COP that we've ever had. Last year's COP was 86,000. The current registered number of delegates that are attending COP29 is 70,000. And so that itself, from 86,000 coming down to 70,000, that's still a lot of numbers. So we know that there's going to be a lot of pushback on many agenda items, and it's the complementarity of being in different rooms to be able to, cross-check with each other on what's happening in gender or what's happening in mitigation work program, who is following it, is it the Ministry of Energy, if they can, provide us an update, because people are frustrated, and it's only fair for them to be frustrated because one, they don't understand what's the COP process. It's fair because you don't expect people to understand the COP process unless they're involved. Two, they don't understand that it's a multilateral process, and to implement decisions it takes time. We have taken so long to implement decisions on, for example, on Paris Agreement loss and damage Article 8. It took us 27 years to agree to establishment of our L&D fund. It took us 29 years to have reference of fossil fuel. It's a process, and I think the sooner people realize that, why people are attending COP and what it is purpose, then it would help them. I don't see any moral or ethical reason why we should not attend. If we don't attend, we are only minimizing our voices in this space. So I think it's really important that we come into these spaces prepared and be able to participate. If we're not able to reserve positions, then we are at the losing end because this has to be domesticated at one way or another.
Is there anything else from the Fiji's side you want everybody back home to hear about how's things progressing for the team back here, and what are some of the challenges or some of the things that we can expect to hear about at the end of it?
I think a lot of sense of frustration is growing with the slow adoption of some of the agenda items. That's very critical, and I think we are doing a really fantastic job of trying to have these discussions bilaterally with some other groupings like African group, G77 in China, which is the larger grouping, to be able to progress this relatively fast. IOCs has played such a big leadership role as well on NCQG to come up with a recommendation on the chair's proposed text, and I think that's really important. I also feel that Pacific being in these spaces this year has really stepped it up as well. I'm really proud of Fiji leading the G77 in China co-chairship on the National Adaptation Plan agenda item, or rather the adaptation streams. We continue to persevere, and just pray for us and stand with us and not against us in this journey. We are here to try and do our best, and the only way we can get your support is if you can, support us in the right way, in the right form.